Good evening, everybody. I know it's a little crowded. We're working on getting chairs, so we're going to get this meeting started. It's Monday, October the 16th, 2023. This is the South Haven City Council meeting. Let's call this meeting to order. Invocation this evening. We have Mr. Doug Fry of the First Congregational Church, who is David Fry. So close. First Congregational Church. Good evening. Thanks again for stepping in for Travis. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'd invite us to pray. Dear God, bless the service of the elected and appointed individuals assembled here tonight and others who are South Haven's public officers. Hear this evening the concerns and ideas of the gathered citizens and community partners. By and because of the conversation, discernment, and decision-making that happens in this room, we trust that South Haven shall be and always become a good, healthy, safe, and respectful place to live, work, relax, and serve. Give us, our public servants, neighbors, families, friends, and visiting guests, the joy of life. Amen.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you coming out tonight. And now, if you're able, join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Megan.
Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Wendy Onuki.
Here.
Joe Reeser.
Here.
Steve Schlack.
Here.
George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins.
Here.
Scott Smith.
Here. That takes us to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the agenda. Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. We are now at public comment, which is for items on the agenda, excluding items which are scheduled for a public hearing, which we do have a couple public hearing items tonight. So items that are not part of a public hearing, which we have public hearings on the ordinance change for the Juneteenth fireworks as well as for the locker project. So those we'll have a public hearing for those. This is for items other than those that might be on the agenda tonight. Sure.
Okay.
Item,
Not on the,
No.
on the agenda, but not public hearing, right?
Correct.
I got it right. Okay, Nancy Nat, 125 Elkenberg. I'm here tonight to talk about beach safety, and I want to start with a quote from Paul Simon from the song Sounds of Silence. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share. No one dared disturb the sound of silence. This season, there were no drownings on our beaches, and for that, I know we are all very thankful. But we still lack one very important aspect of beach safety, and that is lifeguards. The current system provides no immediate emergency response for those crucial minutes you have to save a life of a person who's drowning. Flags, life rings, education do not address the person who is in the water fighting for their life. The voice of silence. I stand before you again tonight to ask that you reconsider your stance of not having lifeguards on our beaches. Many in our community and experts throughout the state will be able to come up with a viable plan that can and should be implemented for the summer of 2024. The sound of the silent drowning victim has a better chance of being heard with trained eyes on the water. Thank you.
thanks for your comments. Is there anybody else? Oh. Good evening.
Lisa Beck, where do I live? 879 Monroe Boulevard.
Good question.
Yeah. I also wanted to speak on beach safety. I'm not as eloquent as the previous speaker, but I think that we got lucky that the flag system worked this time, but as many of us know, there were times where there was a yellow one place, a green one one place. They said they all should be red, and it was yellow. There's a lot of confusion. and also was a very avid swimmer. I am a good swimmer. I swim many times a week, but I also know the dangers of water. And when you're in a rip current, unless you're a very strong swimmer, and even if you're a very strong swimmer, if you don't know what to do, there's a very good chance of you drowning. And beach safety patrols that are not nearby, aren't high up like lifeguards, can't see what's going on, are not the answer, I don't believe. I think we need lifeguards on the beaches. I know there was some conversation with some of the candidates at the forum that, you know, there's some resources in Coloma, people who have offered to train the lifeguards. There was a great suggestion of opening a marine kind of school here that would give people jobs and things like that. I think it would be a great answer, but however we come up with it, I think we need lifeguards. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anybody else? Going once, going twice.
Mary Hasley, 726 North Shore Drive. I'm also going to be speaking about beach safety and lifeguards. I have gone on record as recommending a committee to be formed no later than January of 2024. That committee would look at beach safety and specifically lifeguards and updates to the beach safety program. I think it takes more than just one set of eyes. I think it takes a group of committed, experienced individuals who have dedicated their lives to making water safety a prime key component of education. Until we have water safety on the same level as we do for fire safety, we are going to continue having drowning. It's not just a South Haven issue, it's not just a Michigan issue, it's a national issue, and we need a national program similar. But until that happens, and while we continue to invite tourists here who do not appreciate that Lake Michigan is not your typical lake, it's really more like an ocean with rip currents and longshore currents and offshore currents, we will always have people in distress. Recommendations I've made is that rather in places where our visitors stay, have an educational brochure that helps educate them. And towards that end, the committee, the members that I've recommended, are people you should recognize, Cam Doherty or Sean Russell. It's a 5-member team. One of them, Matt Day, of course, Adam DeBoer from the South Haven Police Department, Great Lakes Surf and Rescue, Dave Benjamin or Bobby Pratt, a city council person, I think I've gotten them all, and of course, members who would participate would be people like Heather from SHAPE, who has put feet on the ground ever since the unfortunate drownings in 2022, have been out there educating people. And with regard to this year, I think one reason that we didn't have drownings is our South Haven Police Department responded in red flag days to address issues when there were too many people for the beach enforcement officers to handle on their own. I think we applaud the South Haven Police Department for stepping up and Chief Thompson for making sure our beaches are safe. But what we need to do is adequately staff the different areas where we're going to have enforcement issues. And we should not have to rely on the police department to help educate people about the dangers of water safety and respond on red flag days when people will not get out of the water or stay out of the water. So I urge the city council to initiate a committee so that we can have a program to address the beach safety, lifeguards, and ensure that the ordinances that we pass are sufficiently staffed by city personnel so that our police department can do what they've been hired to do. Thank you.
Thanks for comments. Anybody else? Once, twice. No, okay. That takes us to the consent agenda items A through H.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through H.
Second.
Motion second. Questions, comments? Nothing. This is a roll call.
Arnold,
Yes.
Onuki,
Yes.
Reeser,
Yes.
Schlack,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
Wilkins,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Old business. City Council will be asked to take the following actions regarding an ordinance amending sections 54-167 of the Code of Ordinances. This is again regarding Juneteenth. So first, let's open a public hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So this public hearing is open again. This is regarding fireworks for Juneteenth. Griffin, you got this one?
I do.
Or Kate?
Yep. So this has been a request that's been brought to the city council. This is a request to add 1 day of additional fireworks, and this is in light and observation of, or on the day of Juneteenth. So based on the feedback that we received from council, we have modified the agenda, the ordinance, and put that in the packet for your review. So the updated language would include that the ordinance would read to allow for fireworks displays on June 19th if that date is a Friday or a Saturday until 11:45 p.m. Otherwise, the third Saturday in June until 11:45 p.m. And that is for consumer-grade fireworks, so pretty much anything that you can use on the other dates of the year where fireworks are allowed, i.e. Memorial Day, July 4th, those many days around July 4th, Labor Day, and New Year's Eve. So those are consumer grade. That's what you would buy at some of those fireworks tents that you would usually see around the end of July, or the end of June. This is not for major displays that you would see either on the pier or large aerial ones. Those are reserved for a different kind of process. So this would be just 1 more day of fireworks for an observation of Juneteenth.
Okay, very good. We are at that time for a public hearing, so does anybody here have any questions or comments about this from the public? No. Close it.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion second, close the hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are closed. Next, council is going to be asked to consider the adoption of the ordinance to amend section 54-167 of the Code of Ordinances to allow for fireworks displays on June the 19th, if that date is a Friday or a Saturday, until 11:45, otherwise the third Saturday in June until 11:45 for the Juneteenth holiday.
I make a motion to amend section 54-167 of the Code of Ordinances to allow for fireworks display on June 19th if that date is a Friday or Saturday or until 11:45. Otherwise, the third Saturday in June until 11:45 for Juneteenth holiday.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions, comments from this council? Otherwise, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is approved. Pencil it in. Very good. Thank you, everybody. Get that on. Next, I think this might why we're all here tonight. City Council will be asked to consider taking the following actions regarding the planned unit development application from Locker and Locker Properties, LLC, for the Center Street Hale Block redevelopment project. First, we're going to open a public hearing again.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second to open a public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're open. Griffin, going to kick us off?
Be happy to. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the chance to bring this back before you. The applicant's proposing a 5-story mixed-use building along Phoenix Street, Center Street, and Quaker Street in downtown South Haven. These plans include new commercial space, 29 residential dwelling units, 67 parking spaces, and 2 public restrooms accessible from Center Street. The project is planned on approximately 0.82 acres of land in the middle of downtown in the Central Business District. The applicant's seeking waivers regarding height, parking structure ramp slope, as well as landscaping to produce a higher quality development with more public benefit than would be possible otherwise. This project's been in the works for many years, since at least 2021, when the City of South Haven, Michigan Municipal League, and Michigan Economic Development Corporation worked with the applicant to develop a site-specific strategy to redevelop this priority site that incorporated feedback from residents and downtown business owners gathered via a number of site visits, stakeholder meetings, as well as a public open house. The Planning Commission conducted a preliminary review of this application in April, final review with the required public hearing in September, and ultimately voted 8-1 to recommend this item to City Council with the conditions that have been memorialized in the proposed resolution before you this evening. On September 18, the City Council introduced this application and set the public hearing for this evening. So after the public hearing, it's suggested that you all discuss with the applicant and consider approval of this application. Staff's going to be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. We're at public hearing right now, so why don't we go ahead? We don't have cards, right, so we'll just do our best to kind of get folks. Just kind of general order. I'll call people up. I just need your name, your address. We have a lot of folks. we have 5 minutes. You don't need all 5 if you don't need it, so feel free to, and if someone said something, feel free to agree with something that's said before. So we want to hear from you. So whoever wants to come up and go first, state your name and address, and Mr. Chris Campbell will kick us off. Good evening, Chris.
Hello.
Good evening. Good to see you back.
I'm not used to being on this side.
On that
so-
side, well, you look good,
Yeah.
so,
I am for
sorry,
this.
name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chris Campbell, 528 Green Street, South Haven, Michigan. I am for this. I think this is progress. I think we need progress. I mean, for years, I've been a retailer downtown for almost 20 years now. I have seen when Hales was open to when Hales closed, when it started falling apart. I think right now we have an empty spot. I think this is something that benefits South Haven. I can't see a negative side to this. I know people are worried about the height. You look at downtown Holland, I've seen St. Joe, I've been to Grand Haven recently looking at storefronts, and those cities have grown. They do go up. The biggest reason my understanding was in the past that we had the height restriction was ladders for the fire department, which is solved now. I think this is a win-win. Property taxes, everything. We get more property taxes from a downtown development than we do from Walmart. So I think it's a better situation for downtown. It's better to have more competition for me. And I think it's just a win-win. So that's my 2 cents.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Good evening.
Hi, I'm Lynn Gable, 19 Streamwood Drive. I have lived in South Haven since 1974. I am not a realtor, I'm not a businessman, but I am a consumer and a resident. I too support the Hales project. There's been a lot of controversy, and the gentleman before me talked about it. We have a local person who's lived in our town who wants to invest in our community. Hales closed down in 2007. Finally, someone bought it in 2019. He wants to bring lots of new things to our town. The height has been over and over. He's met with all the city staff, the council. He's gone back and revised. It's not going to make everybody happy. We know that. It reminds me when the city wanted to build the transient marina, and the town went ballistic because it was going to wreck the view. You can look back at that transient marina and know how much wonderful everything that it's done, the revenue, the walking down to the pier, it's been a good thing. The only thing I know is the only thing constant in life is change, and I see this change as a very positive one. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it.
Nancy Nat, 125 Elkinburg. I'm not here to say I'm for or against the project, but I do have some questions regarding the project. There's been a lot of confusion about the parking at this development. It is unknown how many parking spaces will be guaranteed to the 29 condo owners. And the 67 parking spaces available in the development, none of those parking spaces are available for the general public. Overflow from this development will be adding to the shortage of public parking spaces available in the CBD. I'm not sure how this is helpful for the city, the residents, or the visitors. I believe a parking analysis should be done before approving this project. It seems like this obvious misconception about public parking should be addressed by a reasonable city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Joe.
Hey, Joe Wilchin, 519 Virginia Avenue, South Haven. I'm all for the project. Obviously, we've had a vacant street for a long time. It's a local business owner, local family. It'd be fantastic to get this thing finally passed through. Height restrictions, we need progress. I think it'd be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Dick, come on up.
My name is Dick Brunvan. I live at 360 Brockway in South Haven. I want to get up there early because this Locker fan club gets ahead of me. Last time I say that right in the beginning because there is a Locker fan club, because it's a wonderful family and they've done a lot for the city. But I also did my due diligence and I've looked at the plan and tried to set myself a little bit aside from that friendship. And I do believe in this plan. I do believe in what they're doing. But I had a lot of notes and talked about value, talked about jobs, talked about a lot of other things. I really want to talk about risk. The developer, when they get to do something like that, like this, takes a major risk. You already heard how many years this has been going on. And they take the risk to get a reward. We all do that. And we're taking a risk here, too, on the project. But our risk, I don't think, is as big as what the developer has gone through over the last few years in hoping to get a conclusion tonight with a positive vote. Because this risk is to say, okay, I've bought the property, I had ideas for the property, I've worked with the city, I've had several meetings with the public, and now it's time that I put forward a development. I spent a lot of money as a developer. So what I'm asking you to do is to consider that risk and say they've taken a risk, they've taken an honest risk, and now they're ready to provide a reward for themselves and for this community. And I would hope that we don't delay it any longer. I have a very selfish reason for that. I want to be around for the groundbreaking. At my age, I don't know if I'll be around for the ribbon cutting, but, hopefully. But I think it's time. It's time to take action on this. It's time to move ahead with it. It's time to fill up that hole on Center Street. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thanks, Dick. Appreciate it. All right, was there anybody else? If so, come on up.
Good evening. Laura Jagger, 316 Eagle Street, and thank you for allowing for these comments. And I hate to burst the bubble in this room of pro, but I'm not really excited about this project. But I am very excited what Mr. Locker did with the incredible building of New Holland. He was respectful. He kept the architecture beautiful. He built a 3-story elevator shaft, which made me believe there was going to be a 3-story building going in next to it. He did it with such class, and it does enhance our community, and I'm grateful, very grateful. So this isn't a bash time. But I don't know if there's something so intangible about this community that we will never get back if we build to the sky. We have something here that is lost in most communities, and that is yesteryear charm with the most incredible scenery that goes with it. I believe it's progress, not going up, because there are so few left of us. My sisters had never been to South Haven. So many of our friends, we've been here, this is our 10th fall, and they are in shock and awe of a town that is still so incredibly, beautifully untouched and scenic. You build from 3 stories to 5. That's a big jump. Could we not do this with less stories? It's hard, people are all upset about the rental policies, and I understand the back and forth, and I understand why people want to rent here. Why wouldn't they? We are so charming. But policies you can change. You build up, you cannot change that. That up is always there. Do you know this city during COVID was in the New York Times as being one of the 20 most beautiful places to visit? And it's not because we have 5-story buildings, it's because we don't have 5-story buildings. I kind of believed we had dodged the tall buildings when the Consumers Energy building did not get approved, and I was so grateful for the council that stood its ground, because I do believe this council wants progress. And I, as well, am a big supporter of progress, and there are changes very necessary for that to happen. But I don't think the progress has to come through getting bigger and taller. Our progress will come when we can understand the incredible beauty and charm we have of this community and the architecture and the homes and the people that live here and call this home. So I hope you consider that when you make your decision. Progress, yes. Taller, bigger, that's not always progress. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Is there anybody?
Pat Gaston, 97 Superior Street. You know, this is coming through as a PUD, a planned unit of development, and I really enjoy, I like planning and I like zoning, and I think it's important. And over the years, the whole concept of a PUD sounds great on paper. It's creative thinking to end up with a better project, a better project for the community. But right now, it seems like in reality is a way to bypass the city's zoning ordinance. Like she just said, Consumers Credit Union went to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and they were turned down for height. That's right now, that is our zoning. The height, we have a zoning height. So in other, you get waivers. If you do a PUD, you get waivers instead of asking for a variance. And the reality of a PUD is not always so pretty. I mean, this, on paper, it sounds great, but when I think of the PUDs that have been built here in South Haven, and I don't want to say anything bad, but certainly they aren't projects that I would say I'm proud of. I also note that I don't understand this. There will be no short-term rentals at this project. Frankly, I don't get that. I mean, if there's a place for short-term rentals, it's in a commercial section rather than in residential sections. I don't know if this is the developer doesn't want the short-term rentals, or the city said, oh, we can get this through with no short-term rentals. I also think we need to address height as a whole, not one piece at a time in a PUD. I think you're just, it would be better for us to stop for a minute, look at the whole thing, and then say, oh, yeah, this fits with our whole vision. But one at a time like this bothers me. Supposedly there's supposed to be a public good to this. To have a PUD, there's supposed to be a public good. I think this project is over 100,000 square feet. And I think the public good, to quote the stuff, is 240 square feet of a public bathroom. That's supposedly the public good. And it's supposed to be addressing housing, but I mean, 29 units is not, not that great. I really don't go around talking about this, but in the last couple of weeks, several people have come to me. I went to Kalamazoo to my doctor, and my doctor said, who has property here? He goes, they're not going to put that through, are they? They're not going to put that through. What about Charm? What about, I said, well, I think it's going to go through. And then my hairdresser said, oh, they're not going to put that through, are they? Then I went to a garage sale, and the women were talking about it, and they go, they're not going to put that through, are they? I said, I think they are. It seems as though the city's been, or the council and the city has been listening to experts. And I'm saying that also the residents may not be experts, but we care about this. This is something, and I would like to see a project. Again, maybe if we address the whole height thing, we come up with a whole different thing. But I would like to see a project that every resident would be behind and be excited about. Go, this is progress. This is what we really want. This is great. So I would like to say, was it a pause? Let's address this height thing overall, not one piece at a time. It's funny, today I was thinking about just down the street, in the next block of Center Street, there's volunteers redoing a historic building to bring back the Forest Hotel to this city. Those are volunteers working for nothing. And I understand also that these projects are about money, but PUDs aren't supposed to be about making the most money. They're supposed to be about a benefit to the city. I think we need to stop and get this whole height thing so we're not picking at every little thing all the time. a pause, I think would be nice. And then I wonder if you council members, do you ask your neighbor what they think? Do you talk to your neighbors, or you just talk to the city and experts? I would say talk to your neighbors and see what they think.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Oh, got a tiebreaker.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Derek Balser. I live at 423 Lion Street. And for the last 42 years, my family has been the owners and operators of Johnny's Lakeshore Jewelry. Some of you have probably stopped in there before, some of you haven't. But we're all for this project, even though it means the building that we've called home for 40 plus years is going to be torn down. But the reason why we are in support of this project is we believe, as I said at Planning Commission, the city needs something like this. Now myself, I started working for my father when I was 16 years old. That's over 20 years ago. I've seen the downtown. I'm downtown every single day. My wife works at a restaurant downtown. We see the good and the beautiful of South Haven, but we also see the decaying infrastructure. Now that's not a slam against any business owner or anything like that, but the town is old. We also have a vacant cavity in the middle of downtown. The reason why I appreciate this project is a couple of reasons. One, what it will bring. Of the, I believe it's 67 parking spaces, 17 of those are going to be for public use. Also, this project is not going through a zoning variance, but it's going through a PUD. The purpose of a PUD is very encouraging, especially when you consider what the property owner has done. What it outlines there under the PUD objectives, and number one, is to provide a desirable living, shopping, and working environment and preserving as much of the natural character and of the property as possible. That was done where New Holland is, where the quilt shop is. Unfortunately, that couldn't be done the center section that was torn down. Some may forget, but before the property was bought by the developer, the Hales property was on the virtue of being condemned by the city. And that was not just me saying that. I spoke to city officials. I believe it was Deb Davidson that was on DDA at the time. It posed a significant fire hazard to downtown. You couldn't save that. Now, the third part under the PUD says this: to encourage applicants to use more creative, imaginative approaches in the design and the operation of development projects, including the combining and coordinating of architectural styles. Not everyone realizes this, but South Haven has 2 5-story buildings in the central business district. That would be the Housing Commission, what we call the Warren Center, as well as Water Tower condominiums. Now, that doesn't look like it's 5 stories from Broadway, but if you go to Williams Street, it is 5 stories. The same is true for Water Tower. It looks like 3 from Center, but at the bottom of Williams, it's 5 stories. It may not be 62 feet, but it is 5 stories. If you're going to ask the developer under a PUD to do all of this and then still deny it, then why are we having this discussion in the first place? It's a waste of your guys' time. It's a waste of the developer's time. That being said, when it comes to what this could be in the future, I believe it's on page 129 of this week's packet, the attorney's statement of this does not set precedent for any single property downtown. This is a PUD. This is 5 taxable parcels downtown where we're talking about a huge project. This doesn't mean one property can then go out and do 2 more stories because, again, it's apples to oranges. It's 2 different things. So I appreciate the due diligence that was done on that. And the last thing I'll say, one of the last things is that what was being done through this whole plan was in coordination with the city master plan, the Downtown Development Authority, as well as all the other committees that were involved in this project. The last thing I'll say is this: I know there's been a lot of frustration in recent years with enforcement of zoning, with enforcement of short-term rentals, and all those things, but let's look at this project for what it is, not for what it isn't. This is not about short-term rentals. This is not about affordable housing. This is about a significant economic development in the central business district, and I hope both sides can find a path forward and it can progress. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else? agenda?
No.
Oh, she tried to come in.
Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard. I remember where I lived this time. I really give the developers a lot of credit. I think that there has been a hole there for years. I would love to see something. I think we do need to be progressive. I do have some questions about it. I think the height is too high. That's my personal opinion. Someone on one of the social media said, well, it's really not 5 stories because one's parking. I don't understand that. I think 5 stories is 5 stories, or 62 feet is too high in that area. That's my own personal opinion. My questions on it are, for the public good with a PUD, as I believe her name's Pat mentioned, the bathrooms, they're 1 stall each. I don't think that's overwhelmingly for the public good. And the parking, I find that there's confusion there. Someone mentioned that there's 17 parking spaces that are not for the condo. I know that someone contacted Griffin earlier, and he said that that was unknown. So I think that before you build something of this size, you need to know what the parking situation is. How many parking spaces do the condo people get? How many will be there for the retail stores that are underneath? So I'm not negative against it. My personal opinion is I would love it to be 4 stories, and I think everybody would be happy. But, you know, it doesn't work on my personal opinion. But I do think that these questions of the public good, and I think that while we say it doesn't set a precedence, I think we're kind of fooling ourselves. I think as soon as one passes through, you know, the next PUD will be 5 or 6 or whatever, and I think we do have to be careful about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hello,
Evening.
Amy O'Sullivan, 91 North Shore Drive. As a local business owner, mother of 2 South Haven graduates, and downtown building owner, I am here in full support of this project. I've reviewed the design in detail and appreciate the thought, input, and consideration that was put into the plan, including internal parking for workers, residents, and consumers, in addition to the desperately needed public bathrooms. I think if you have to go to the bathroom, 1 stall is really all you need, and so I think that would be a welcome addition to our downtown. If those aren't considered benefits to the public, I don't know what is. The materials being used are beautiful, and I feel it will enhance our already beautiful downtown, not detract from it. I wholeheartedly believe South Haven will remain one of the 20 most beautiful cities to visit after this project is completed. Who else besides a South Haven local would take such care into planning a project like this? How long do we want to stare at an empty hole in our otherwise thriving downtown? Please consider these 2 questions when casting your vote tonight. If not now, when? If not Randy, who? Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Was there anybody else? Good evening.
Wayne Ball, sir, 665 Kalamazoo Street, and I also live at the corner of Phoenix and Center Street for the last 42 years. I'd like to say I'm certainly in favor of the project. And I think one of my concerns over the last 2 decades is South Haven not having an identity for its downtown. We've gone through a lot of changes over the years. When we first came here in 1981, there was 11 storefronts empty on Phoenix Street and Center Street. 3 of them on my corner, which we got one of those. But over the years, we've seen our town evolve and change. And I really feel that our town has struggled to try to know what direction to go to be something beyond a souvenir shop and an ice cream shop town. We're making progress by having more year-round businesses in town. The addition of Glick's, the addition of the Olive Cart, and so forth. I really think that the project that's being discussed here tonight, the PUD, really can help in that regard. A lot of the concerns that people have had, we've had folks come into our business, we've discussed this with them. Most of it is a lack of understanding of the scope of the project, the details of the project, and the facts of the project. The Planning Commission aired all that out, and I really think that The question of parking is going to be helpful from the standpoint that all the workers are not competing for the existing parking when there are some additional spaces. So all those things said, our little town needs to, I'll say, build up its image to the next level. This project has the ability to do that. It will not hurt the mixture of charm we have downtown. We have aluminum siding downtown. We have brick downtown. We have stucco. We have styrofoam downtown. This will give our town, I'll say, some class that will appeal to the visitors. It will appeal to the retirees, which more and more are coming here and wanting to retire here. It will also appeal to the young professionals that are going to replace us old baby boomers pretty soon here. So all I'm getting at is that I think this project has a lot of merits, and I'm really excited about it. One of the things in the documents that the city put together regarding this, it said that this development will be the catalyst to spur future growth in South Haven's Central Business District. And I will say that after living most of my daytime hours of my life on the corner down there, I really do believe that that will come true.
Thanks for coming out. Anybody else? Going once, going twice.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Was there anybody else from the outside?
Nope. we can-
come on.
Welcome. Good evening, ma'am.
I was out of sight.
You're allowed, well, come on.
Out
in.
of sight, out of mind.
Sorry, I didn't know you were a high.
Amanda Sukup, 1970 68th Street. I second a lot what's been said, so I'm not going to say all that. I had it all written out ready. But I'm going to tell you a little story instead. About 11 years ago, my life turned upside down. It was pretty quickly. And I had a little house I was fixing up. I was going to sell. It was an investment. And all of a sudden, I had to move into that house. I had talked to Randy Locker at the carpet shop about putting carpet. And I said, don't worry. It won't, it's going to be a while before I need carpet. I got to paint. I got to do all this stuff. I called Randy, and I said, Randy, I need carpet now. And he said, why? I said, I'm moving in. He didn't ask me a single question. There were no questions asked. I said, and don't tell me to come down and look at everything because I don't have enough brains right now to try to figure out what I want. He brought me 3 samples. Randy, I don't know if you remember this. He brought me 3 samples to the office. I picked one, and in 2 days, I had carpet. I called Country House Furniture. I said, I need a bed. Day after that, I had a bed. Small town is the reason I live here. It is the people who love this town. And not only do they love the town, but they care about the people. And we are so fortunate to have a developer that not only has the ability and the opportunity to do this, but he loves this town and he loves these people. His whole family does. So I stand here in support today of what they're doing. I think that they, in the design, they have used, you see the caring and the love that they have for this town. I think that it's a go. So I hope you vote for it tonight. Thank you.
Ma'am. Appreciate it. Thanks for your comments. Okay, is there any?
Oh, hand up.
Come on up. Welcome. Good evening.
My name is Janet McKenzie, and I live at 601 Monroe Boulevard. With all due respect for the time and the money that has been spent on this planning, it was shocking to me that the only plan that could be presented was one that asked for a variance from the community. And although people say, 5 stories does not set a precedent, I can't believe that, That really concerns me a lot. It seems to me that what we are selling in this town, besides the lake, is a certain kind of ambience. And that people come here to get away from big city ambience, busy ambience, to a smaller, friendly, as she says, place. I don't think a construction of glass and steel does that. I commend to you, for instance, the people who, at Clementine's, who moved into the old shoe store building. The interior is gorgeous. It's wonderful. The exterior, they did not touch. It kept the town looking like the town it is. And that is what is very distressing to me, is that after all this time and effort, what do we get? 5 stars in glass and steel. I don't understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, no?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Oh, hold on now, Jim's down. Wait.
Sorry, Councilman. My name is Jim Hettinger, and I've served as the city's economic development consultant. This is Mr. Zach Morris, the president of Market Van Buren, with whom the city has a working relationship. We're both here to provide some economic development perspective to this project. And if you have any questions, we'll try and answer those as well. As we've noted to you in the past, housing's become an important economic development issue. City manager and I attended the annual meeting of the Michigan Economic Developers Association, and the agenda was loaded with housing issues. Michigan Municipal League, Michigan State Housing Development Authority, Michigan Association of Counties, on and on. They have housing concerns. There were numerous private developers there, and after every one of the presentations, there were a long line of community representatives waiting to talk to them, including me, by the way. In the case of the development you're considering, you may be in a better place than a lot of these other communities with whom we would have to compete for the attentions of developers. You have a local developer who already has considerable stake in the success of a housing project in South Haven. And we've talked about housing issues again for the past 2 years, almost nonstop. We know we've got big problems: the missing middle, affordable housing, and short-term rentals. Strategic response to this is to create more housing opportunities. It seems to me that a project that involves ownership and long-term leasing might be the medicine South Haven needs to begin to balance its housing offerings. The state of Michigan, and you may have heard this from your housing consultant, now needs up to 250,000 new housing units over the next 5 years. It's unlikely that the state will meet that challenge. And as I've said, it is likely that these projects will be attracted first and foremost to the big cities. We've talked about a year-round economy. The project has the potential to put more residents in the downtown on a year-round basis, thus promoting business activity that can sustain some of these smaller commercial enterprises that struggle to get through the winter. New available housing units in the downtown and a walkable relationship with the shoreline can help attract the remote workers that many communities are seeking. In economic and urban development terms, this is called walkable urbanism. As we've observed in the past, South Haven is an amenities-rich community, and as such, has the chops to attract remote workers. Housing units in a vibrant downtown are a huge asset in the attraction of small business. From an infrastructure point of view, the proposed project positively impacts an underdeveloped portion of the downtown with new housing, new commercial opportunities, and civic and community space. Now, I've heard a number of people refer to the 2 bathrooms as the start and end of the public benefit. That's not true. You're rehabbing, reusing, and repurposing an old downtown building. This is probably preferable to green space consumption, which is going on all over communities in the state. And contrary to a building such as you're considering in the downtown, once you've converted green space to a building space or something like that, you ain't getting it back. I understand there's concern with the development's floors, 4 floors or 5 floors, that there is a belief we've never exceeded a 4 levels threshold. when I was asked to look at this project, I drove around the downtown, and as a gentleman previous to me indicated, there are buildings downtown that at least seem to have 5 floors. But there is a best practices technique in planning, and I would encourage the city to head down this road. And that is something called a horizon line study. Such a study would facilitate citizen interactions with various sky, building, land, and water scenarios. You have all of the above. But there are professional firms available to do this kind of work for your planning commission and for you, so that when these issues come up in the future, you've got a guidepost that you can work with. With a recent announcement that Palisades will reopen and 200 high-skilled, technical, and high-paid employees will be back in the area, we need to try and attract as many of these people as possible to South Haven. We're competing, and I think Zach would back me on this, we're competing with a number of nearby jurisdictions for these people. It would be very advantageous if we had an inventory of housing ready for them. The good news is our nearby competitors are equally unprepared to capitalize on the influx. Finally, as some of you know, I've been in the economic development business for a long time. For at least 25 years, I knew Tower Pinkster Titus, the architect engineering firm on this.
Hey, Jim, I don't know if we're gonna, I know we did this during public comments, so our 5 was up. I don't know if Zach's taking over or just.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
I can, yeah.
Just trade, whatever. Thank you, Jim.
When I started in economic development some time ago, there was one name that you kept hearing about, and it was Jim Hettinger. And when I finally met him, I was glad to work with him. And he has made some really good points. One of the things is that in the work we do, I sit on the Michigan Economic Developers Association board and get a statewide view of many issues. One of the things that has been a major issue that we've been discussing quite a bit is housing. And housing is one of those things that everybody wants it, and very few communities get a shot at a project that I'm going to use the word is transformational. This is a transformational project. These projects just don't get put in your lap very often, and especially by a local person. This type of statement development is important as we are working as a team here, Market Van Buren and the city, to attract new companies to the area, to actually take care of even the companies we have right now. So we look at the companies we have right now. We have multinational firms in the area that have vice presidents that cannot find adequate housing in the area. They can afford it, and as Jim said, we're going to have the plant reopening here very soon. Everything goes right, it will open soon. And you'll have a lot of people who will be working there who make very good money. And wouldn't it be great to have the money in this city and not in St. Joe, not in Holland, but right here being spent with your businesses who have been crying for a year-round population? So we think this is a very attractive development. We fully support it, and we certainly would encourage the council to do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. All right, was there anybody else? Otherwise, we're going to close. No. Ready, set, going once, going twice, sold.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is closed. Next, City Council is going to be asked to consider the approval of Resolution 2023-31, which is a resolution to approve a plan unit development for the Center Street Hale Block redevelopment project.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-31, a resolution to approve the planned unit development for the Center Street Hale Block, there's a typo, development project.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion, we got a second. I know there were at least 1 or 2 questions about parking. I know the developers here, I mean, maybe we could.
They are, and they
Maybe we
can
could have them clarify if there's anything else they'd
Sure.
like to add before, and then we could, while they're up, if council has specific questions they could ask. Good evening, come on up, state your name and address, and we'll start with a question about parking, but.
Sure,
name and
yeah, let
address.
me help give a little bit of clarity, and then we're happy to answer any other questions that you guys have. In full transparency, one of the things that came up was parking.
Name and
Oh,
address.
sorry. My name is Adam Locker. I'm the co-project manager of this and representing both my family and Locker Properties and Development. Sorry about that miss. Parking. The reason we're talking about parking is two reasons. Number one, a housing development of this size has a requirement on the amount of parking spaces that have to be provided on site. In our case, that number is 39 parking spaces that need to be on site. That is where that comes from. We're continuing to talk about parking because of the public benefit of the PUD. So there's a lot of questions on how that parking is used. The point that we want to make today is that in this development, we're required to provide 39 parking spaces. We plan to provide 67 parking spaces. And that abundance of parking is meant to provide significant public benefit, specifically 150,000 square feet of space, of building space, that does not contribute to an already tenuous parking situation downtown. So I'll leave it at that. Sure, we can jump onto this too while we're at it. Of the two things, there were two things that.
Let me jump in real quick, Adam, if I can. We're having some technical issues. But before we get to that piece, I can try to help clarify for the city council as well. Again, I apologize if there's been some confusion about parking in this project. I know someone mentioned earlier today an answer I gave to a question, so hopefully I can clarify some of this. I was asked earlier today if you were to purchase a condo in this proposed development, regardless of size, how many parking spaces would you be guaranteed? And the answer I gave to that was it's unknown. And the reason for that is the perspective of buying a condo in this proposed project. I have no idea as the city how many parking spaces your proposed developer is going to sell you or give you as part of their project. But I think that's gotten confused with how many parking spots are required for a project like this and how many parking spots are being provided in this proposed project. So just to clarify, the applicant's proposing 29 residential dwelling units. To adhere to the off-street parking requirement in the central business district, they are required to have one parking space for every dwelling unit for the exception of the first one. So they are required to have 28 off-street parking spaces, regardless of the size of the dwelling unit itself. So going back to the original question I was asked, if a more appropriate answer or a clear answer should have been one, I apologize for the confusion. That wasn't my intent. I think the intent was, I don't know how many they're going to sell you or how many you're going to get if you purchase a development, but there's one parking space per unit required for the exception of the first one. The proposed project ultimately is offering 67 parking places, which is more than double that required number. Those parking places are not general public parking spots. It's not going to be a public parking lot like the one many of you use today, but they are going to be parking spaces that will help to prevent additional congestion of the already existing parking in the downtown. So think of those extra places like you think of Meijer or like you think of Walmart. The developer, the business owners, will be able to use those parking spaces for however they need them. If that is certain dwelling units are bigger, they need to provide additional. Are they going to have guest parking spaces, reserved parking for their businesses, or parking spaces available to people who are going to go and maybe visit those businesses? So there are notable parking spaces above the requirement as outlined in our ordinance. So hopefully that clarifies that a little bit.
Right, and we reduced parking to one per dwelling unit a few years ago to encourage downtown dwelling, very specifically.
That's correct, and retailers do not have to provide parking as part of the central business district zoning district. So that, I get there's a lot of consternation about that, but that's what's in the code, and when somebody brings forward an application, we have to go with what is in the code. And so off-street parking is not required for central business district businesses. but the premises, the residential dwelling does. And that's where we're at. And I guess a better example of the parking that is available for tenants of the building or their guests, I think of like the Clementines lot. That is there's a lot in front of, I think it's Eagle Street Market, and that is owned by, or at least rented by by Clementines. And there is parking in there. And that is parking set aside for visitors for the Clementines, right? You can't just park in there. I'm not sure how well they monitor it, but that is a place where it's not generally for the public's use, but it is for the people who are attending or going to Clementine. So that's, in my mind, the kind of what I understand when they have parking for others to use, not just the residential. That's what I think of.
Very good. Other council comments?
I have some questions for the developer.
Please do, fire. Come on, maybe. You almost got off.
That's okay.
In our package, there's, the approval contains, which wasn't mentioned in the motion, but the approval contains a long list of conditions that the city has written into the approval wording. One of the speakers tonight mentioned risk. Do you, the developer, see any of these conditions, such as deed restrictions and performance schedules? Do you see any of those conditions as too much of a risk to your project if approved with those conditions?
I think one of the risks that we are opening up the project to, through the conditions that are listed, is a limit on short-term rentals. I think that's the one that, that represents the current desire of what that looks like in South Haven. And I could see that changing over time. And when we're talking about a 100-year lease for the bathrooms. So I think there's a lot of different timelines that we're considering risk on, right? So I think that's the one that I could imagine being a little more fluid in a long period of time, specifically in South Haven. Beyond that, yes, all deed restrictions are risky, and the hope is that we've covered a lot of our bases and created a space that we can, we fully intend to fulfill them, but that are both reasonable and manageable.
And then lastly, I'd just say the public good can and does come through different forms, not only just restrooms, but in tax revenue, housing, business dwellings, and importantly, filling the huge void in our downtown. That's all I have for you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Can I just ask you a question? Would you be able to tell us why this project couldn't be done in 4 stories or with 4 stories?
Yeah, I mean, largely the impact is financial, because as people so graciously mentioned, the desire, we acknowledge that whether we build something in that space at 3.5 stories or 5, the intention would be to build it to last. The intention would be to build something beautiful that we can be proud of for generations to come. We are able to do that more effectively with a scope of that magnitude. The primary long-term risk that we see by creating a development in the downtown of South Haven in the central business district is parking. And this particular plan completely alleviates the need for creating a parking problem downtown. And so we would not be able to provide the additional parking and the additional materiality, the high-end materiality, to create a building that, again, I think that the public can be proud of as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Very good. Anybody else?
I would say in 5 years, I've been on city council, this might be the toughest issue I've had to address. Anyone who's talked to me in the last 3 months knows what I've been saying. I'm listening. I'm listening to everyone, businesses and residents. I came prepared to take a position. My position coming in here was, our zoning ordinance is old and outdated. The recodification project going on now is intended to simplify the administration of the zoning ordinances, but it's not doing anything to bring the ordinance to the 21st century. My concern is that we treat one business different than we treat another business, and I like to have an ordinance that treats all businesses alike. I understand the PUD. As I listen to everyone, and I put special strength in the statements from Jim Hedinger, I put a lot of strength and credence in Randy. I've talked to him. I've watched him do other projects. I believe he's a good local developer. Dick, who's sitting in the front row, said to me when I knocked on his door, he said, "If not now, when?" And I use that expression many times. I don't want to hold Randy and your whole project up because our zoning ordinance isn't done yet correctly. So that's something we on City Council, and that's something the city can do. But I don't think it's fair to hold you up. My heart goes out to the residents. I agree so often with many of you that think this is going to be so different and it doesn't fit in necessarily with the looks of the downtown or the height. I do have some faith, though, in Randy, and I do have some faith that sometimes we have to take a risk, the residents and the businesses, and try to move forward. And I think this is a step forward. And I don't want to be the one up here to stop it. So you have my support, but with a lot of concerns. But I will push forward with trying to get our ordinances changed so all businesses downtown are treated the same. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Very good. Anything, George?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll jump in. To you, your entire family, I say thank you for the risk, for the time, sweat, blood, and tears put into this. I thank you. I've liked this project. I've seen a few different iterations of it. This space has been blight since I've been in town. It's going on 30 years now, so it's been, it's been a challenging area. I have talked to a lot of people as well. I mean, someone said, you ask your neighbors? My neighbors? Where's Lynn? She's right there. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of neighbors, friends. A lot of fun talking to younger people, too. I'm always curious. Ask my kids, what do you think? What am I missing here? I mean, is there, to which the big question is, why not? So I find myself asking myself, why not? Why not now? So I haven't come up with a good reason why not now. It does address parking. There is public investment. Yes, there are restrooms. It's beautiful. It looks nice. Activity. I mean, how exciting for the downtown merchants to have this activity year-round. We've seen change in the downtown. We've seen more people live in downtown, and it's fun. Our restaurants, businesses are staying open longer. Got Roxanne at Deck and the Dog, so I still give a lot of credit for making everybody stay open later. Good job, Roxanne. But you were seeing that activity, which is fun. So I'm excited to see more activity. You're going to energize Center Street even more. It's been fun to see that change. I had some fun. Wayne, thanks for your comment about the various building types, because at one point in time we did say, someone brought it up, and I literally drove downtown and said, what's our theme downtown? There's not really a theme down. I mean, there's certain things, but I mean, so I really feel like this will add to that downtown vibrancy. So I'm excited, again, to your family, to all I know, both Randys, everybody involved. I say thank you. That's an exciting project. So I think it's going to be exciting for years and years to come. So I look forward to seeing it happen. So you have my support today, going forward. So if we're all good, we've got a motion, we've got a second. I'll just roll call it, just make sure we're clear.
Onuki?
Yes.
Reeser?
Yes.
Schlack?
Yes.
Sleeper?
Yes.
Wilkins?
Yes.
Arnold?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes, that would be
Motion carries.
100%. Congratulations. I know there's a lot I know there's several here that are just here for this. If you'd like to take a minute and sneak out, I know I will allow you to do that before we go on. So thank you all. I mean, you can stay. I mean.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. Thank you all.
Got it.
Appreciate it.
But you know something? It's subjective.
Thank you.
It's tough.
Letitia get you again?
Yes, she did.
Don't hit him.
Whacked that water bottle on my head.
Making him bleed down there. Thanks for coming.
Make a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
Motion second, take a 5-minute recess.
Aye.
Aye.
See you in 5. Guess we got done in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Griffin, yellow
Fix
torch.
mine. I've
There he
been
comes.
looking at it.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Oh, dear.
We're not doing terrible for time.
Nope, we're gonna make this.
Get us out of here, huh?
Got it. How about a motion to go back?
Make a motion to go back in open session?
Second.
Motion is second to go back in open session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. We're back in open session. New business, City Council is going to be asked to consider the following special event applications. I'll read all three. Special event 2023-43, Reverse Trick or Treat 2023. To be held on October 28, 2023 from 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. on the corners of Phoenix Street and Center Street. Number two, or B, sorry. Special event 2023-44, which is the McLuhan Monument dedication, to be held on November the 11th, 2023 at 11 a.m. at the City Hall lawn. And then C, special event 2023-45, the Reindeer Run 5K and Rudolph Romp, to be held on November the 25th, 2023, from 8:30 a.m. until 11:45 a.m., beginning and ending at the corner of William Street and Center Street.
I make a motion to approve special event 2023-43, special event 2023-44, and special event 2023-45 as they were all read by the mayor.
Second. We've got a motion. We've got a second. Kate?
Well, thank you,
Details.
Mayor. We have three special events being brought to you today. The Reverse Trick or Treat 2023 will be held on the corners of Phoenix Street and Center Street. There's really no city services being required or being asked. They're just going to be out there handing out candy if you are so kind to give them a donation. They'll be dressed up in family-friendly costumes. The McLuhan Monument dedication, we're pretty excited about this. As you know, we've had a donation for a monument to be erected and placed in the front lawn of City Hall. This is to recognize Jim McLuhan, who is a local, state, and national hero, having earned the Congressional Medal of Honor. The dedication ceremony would be in line before what was done for Mr. Dewey, another Medal of Honor recipient. The event will be on the front lawn here, November 11th at 11 a.m. And then the final one is the Reindeer 5K. This is a new 5K that will be brought to the city. The Mitten Museum and Southwest Michigan Racers Organization are teaming up to host that holiday-themed fundraiser. It's to help raise money and spirits in the downtown of South Haven for Small Business Saturday. There will be a short kids fun run, the Rudolph Romp, which will kick off at 9:30, and the 5K would start at 10 a.m. The input that we have received from local businesses has been very positive. The event will take place on November 25th from 8:30 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. As a reminder, there will be some roadblocks at Williamson Center and one on Water Street during this event.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments?
As a social studies teacher, I like that it's McLuhan's monument will be dedicated at 11/11 at 11 a.m.
That's right.
Is when Armistice was signed and World
correct.
War I. Yeah.
Very good. Nice. Okay. Well, we got a motion. We've got a second to approve the special events as written. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. They're approved.
I didn't vote for that, just,
Oh,
I was going to abstain.
gotcha.
Abstain.
Very good.
Thank you.
That's fine. Next, City Council, we're going to receive an update on the beach safety program.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to make sure that we get the beach safety presentation put up there by the back. All right, we'll try, oh, here we go.
It's okay, my computer went into airplane mode about 5 minutes into my workday this morning. I didn't even know it could go into airplane mode at work. I'm like, how would I go to airplane mode?
Okay.
Just so you know, you can't get on the internet when your computer's on airplane mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine. That means you need a vacation.
All right, well, thank you very much. Just to get started here, the beach safety program, as you know by this council, we had a previous version that was facilitated by Shays. It was staffed by 4 seasonal beach flag interns and 2 seasonal part-time beach flag interns. They did have gaps in their staffing, which was filled by Shays full-time and paid on-call staff. They were responsible for monitoring lake conditions and changing the flags. In 2023, City Council wanted the beach safety program brought back, and we added that code enforcement element. So we hired Matt Day as a beach safety and facilities superintendent, and we recruited for 8 seasonal beach enforcement attendants, but we were only able to hire 6. Now, this was recruitment that we did all year round, And we got at times close to getting to 8, but then we had some people, either decide that, get another job or whatnot. It's a very tight job market, but we were only able to hire 6. The beach enforcement attendants were responsible for monitoring the lake conditions, changing the flags, sending out the NICS alerts, updating the website, because that's where we also have our beach flag updates. And new this year, we had them enforce applicable provisions of the South Haven Code of Ordinances. And yes, there were times that the police were called down there. You might be surprised, but sometimes people don't want to listen to people who are out on the beach. So at times, the police officers were called because they were not getting the compliance that was needed. Next slide, please. We talked about some of our priorities and successes. As you know, we had a very successful year. We had no drowning incidents, and I call that a very successful year. We did have, and part of that was there was a lot of public awareness going on the beach. With the 6 beach enforcement attendants out there, as well as Matt Day, we had more staff on the beaches. We were trying to have dual coverage on both sides of the pier when we had the staff, especially on those well-attended weekends. We had a lot of media coverage about the program. We addressed our communication systems. We had the public address system and sirens put on the mules. As you know, we bought the second mule, had those put on. Again, continued our NICS alert system, and those also, we did the website notification. Emergency response, we had some assistance from Shays and SHPD. We also had community engagement with Shays, SHPD, Rotary, SHAPE, other groups, and we had the Touch-a-Truck event. We received donations from Rotary. We received around $13,500 from the South Haven Rotary Club for 6 life ring cabinets that have been installed and mounted on the north and south piers, and that will allow for those life rings to be utilized year-round. Now, with the beach safety ordinance, should the conditions be dangerous for the people going out on the pier, the piers would be closed. But we did, for many years, take down the life rings because they could be encapsulated in ice or just could not stand up to the elements. So this was something that allows us to keep those life rings out there year-round. We also, with that grant from Rotary, were able to add AEDs, automated external defibrillators, to be placed in both the mules and the superintendent's vehicle. So again, adding one more element of things out there. When you do need an AED or if somebody's having a heart issue, those are invaluable in times of the essence. The response that we had out there, the beach enforcement attendants responded to and assisted Shays with 25 beach incidents. We had 20 at South Beach. We had 5 at North Beach. We had 1 swimmer in distress on North Beach, and Shays did respond. We had 2 false alarms for swimmers in distress. We had many, many medical calls and incidents on the beach. So many times when you would hear sirens going down, they were for medical issues. And again, that's one of the things that's very nice to have Shays down there, but that was a primary, most of our calls. We had several missing children, that's why police were down there. And we had at least 1 medical call for a boat that was offshore near Oak Street Beach. I think there might have been another one, but those are the ones that come to mind. Our beach attendants, beach enforcement attendants worked alongside SHPD on missing person calls and enforcement. The attendants transported SHPD staff on the safety mules when needed. They're very helpful. They're very nice to get around because, as you know, our north and south beaches are pretty big, and it helps with having those assets down there. And the attendants also assisted in searching for missing persons, and everybody has been were located safely. Next slide. For the tickets this year, the beach enforcement attendants issued a total of 24 tickets this year. 14 were for pier jumping. That seemed to be the primary thing that we were dealing with many times this year. 1 for being on the pier when it was closed, 9 for entering the water despite the red flag. The South Haven Police Department issued a total of 12 tickets this season, 4 for pier jumping, 6 for entering water despite red flag, 1 dog on the beach, and 1 ticket issued for alcohol on the beach. Next slide. So some of our next steps are, 1, to continue assessing new technologies. We've been in contact with a few places that are developing new technologies and looking at what that is and how the technology is progressing. One of that is Code Blue is working with SwimSmart to look at possibly these notification towers. We did, I think it was beg your pardon, it might have been last year, but we went and saw a demonstration of that, and they're continuing to work on that. This is a model that they're looking to prototype, so we've been looking at that. Improving signage, that seems to be something that we've always looked at. We also have a donation coming from Safe Kids Greater South Haven. They have found donors for 13 additional life jacket loaner boards. We have located where those new life jacket loaner boards can be, and this is in addition to, I think, the 2 that we already have. We've had great success with those being used, not as much attrition rate or people just walking off with them, so they've been an excellent asset, and with 13 more, that seems to be very helpful. I did note, we had, I think there was a news article that came out, and they did a shot of the beach, and when I looked at that, one of the life jacket loaner boards was in the frame, and all of the life jackets were off, so they were being used. So that was a good indication that those are being widely used. Our off-season projects for the beach safety would be the assistance with SHPD is to continue to monitor the piers and life rings. So if we're coming up on, we have tough weather and the piers, and the piers are unpassable, we'll be sending out those nixles and shutting the piers. We have continued working with the Corps of Engineers to install those gates on both piers. They're not moving very slow. I know that we have submitted our maintenance plan for those structures, and we are waiting to hear back on their comments, and that was months ago. We will review our training and our operating procedures for next year. We will be reviewing and updating the Marty Jordan Beach Safety Plan as needed. We will be having a seasonal job fair next February, and that's when we would also do some recruiting for next year. And if there's any other changes to council priorities, we will incorporate that going forward. All right, any questions? Yes, sir.
I mentioned to you once before, there's the company in Covert that explained to me in detail that they have these new AI cameras. And the cameras, if they're accurate, what they're telling me is it can scan the top of the water and see if anyone's in distress, but it can look into the water and know if there's undertows that are not safe and let us know before anyone even gets in distress that it's not safe. So even our visual eyes can't see it, these cameras can look into the water. And they're so adamant about it, and this is something the city can decide, but they're saying if we needed, hypothetically, 4 lifeguards on the South Beach, we could get away with 1 or 2 with those cameras. So I think it's worth the city looking into it, and I know I mentioned it to you. And then the other one, of course, Emily, the mechanical robot that can go out in the water. So I think we should look at these new high-tech possibilities to make the beach safer. And I think we still should look at having a committee or a group look at lifeguards and the feasibility and the actual cost of what it would take to do it and ways of creating the revenue. I mean, we talk about the safety of our residents, and we talk about the importance of tourism in this town, which obviously it is, then we should try to be as safe as we can taking care of our visitors. And I'm not saying you're not trying. I'm just saying there's other things we could look at. That's all. Thanks.
I just want to echo what Joe said. I totally agree. And I didn't know about the camera thing, so I think that's awesome. I'm really happy with this year's report. I think it's great. But I would love to be able to look at the feasibility of bringing back a lifeguard program to go along with all of these awesome things that we're doing. That's all.
I got a question. Kate, have we heard anything from the Army Corps of Engineers about the gates that were proposed to be installed on the piers to be able to more easily close them off when it's unsafe?
No, I guess the only thing I've heard, we had submitted a maintenance plan that was required as part of the lease. And that was the last time that we had communicated was that they needed that. We worked in-house to provide that, and that's been submitted, but that was a couple months ago. We are really hoping to get that approved so that we can have those gates installed, because right now we still have those, those road barriers with a chain across. And the idea is to get the safety gates installed that mimic the safety gates, the blue safety gates that are already on site. So we'll continue to reach out with them and see what we can do, because really, we're going on now year 2, and it would be really imperative to get them installed.
And lastly, I'm not against having another committee look at the beach safety, but we had a committee that I thought did a pretty good job looking at beach safety. And, you know, I'm not sure another committee would do anything different. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that the other committee met, but that's all I have.
Thank you.
I was just going to check, 'cause I know, Pam, did you want to say something? She just hanging out late to make sure we're all not goofing up her life rings. Okay, very good. I will just say thanks to Bronson and Pam for her efforts to get those life rings installed down there. So that's good work. And obviously, kudos to staff for keeping us safe. Good job this year. Obviously, there's always room to be better. So looks like we're going to keep doing it over the winter and better, stronger, faster next year. So well done.
Thank you.
There's nothing else. Then let's go on. We've got an update from our outstanding Chief of Police, Miss Natalie Thompson. Good evening, Chief. How's everything in our fair city?
Good, thank you. I wanted to start tonight with some statistics. And so far for the year for golf cart citations, we have written 107 with a little bit more time to go. So the officers have done a good job on enforcement with those. Next, and this is year-to-date statistics, January 1st through September 30th of this year. Our top 5 criminal offenses are retail fraud, larceny, assault, obstructing justice, and driving violations. For person crimes, sexual assault, sex offenses, non-forcible, kidnapping, and assault. And out of our total number of assaults for the year, we had 47 that were non-domestic and 57, or 55% of our total assaults were domestic related. Our total complaints or incidents that we take reports on for the year are 1,691. Our total calls for service for this year as of September 30th, the total are 3,290 overall. In South Haven Township, 950. And in the city of South Haven is 2,340. Foot patrol hours are 255. Citations and warnings, we are up to 1,934. So we've surpassed the last 4 years. Last year, we ended with 1,685. So we're well above that. So like I said, the officers are doing an excellent job on enforcement. Arrests, we've surpassed the last 4 years. We are up to 490 compared to a total last year of 441. Last month, on September 12th, the South Haven Police Department was able to host a roundtable discussion with Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel to discuss the new implementation of Public Act 301 of 2020, the Address Confidentiality Program. This program was established to provide certain protections for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking, hate crimes, or for any victim who is in fear that disclosure of their actual physical address will increase their risk of harm. The roundtable group was comprised of a diverse array of law enforcement, elected officials, community members, and many advocate group representatives. While the program is in initial steps of implementation, delayed due to COVID, this discussion was very productive and informative to all of us. Staff development, Sergeant Adam DeBoer is very happy. He has graduated from Eastern Michigan University Staff and Command class last Friday, October 6th. This is an upper-level police administration course comprised of 8 weeks of classes. It was 1 week every other week, so he was very busy this summer. It ran from June through October. Sergeant DeBoer completed these courses while balancing work and home, and he was able to achieve a high GPA. Historically, each sergeant in our police department attends this course. Some of us have attended Northwestern Michigan University, Eastern hosts them, Central, so there's a variety of universities that host these. We chose this class because it was in Ottawa County. It was a close venue, so we didn't have to pay for hotel lodging, and it was pretty convenient. And we're a member of the West Michigan Criminal Justice Training Consortium, so they actually sponsored this course, which means they paid a large portion of it. So our out-of-pocket cost was $1,000, and then I've submitted a RAP grant through MMRMA that reimburses us half of the tuition. So our total out-of-pocket cost for this class is only $500. So Sergeant DeBoer does get college credits out of this should he choose to pursue a master's degree in the future. So he did very well, very happy with that accomplishment. And lastly, city manager just wanted me to give an update on this report that first came to us through social media about they're actually peahens. They're female peacocks or peahens that have been loose in our area. It's a first for me. First of all, these were never reported by anyone as being lost or have gotten loose, so we don't know who the owners were or are. We still don't. Secondly, we do a lot of animal control type of services, our department. I think we really pick up the slack for Van Buren County Animal Control because they're understaffed, so dogs, dealt with cats as best that we can. I personally have rescued a lot of different types of wild animals. If we could rescue these, we would. It's just logistically, we don't have the training, we don't have the equipment. I can tell you I tried to rescue an injured Canadian goose one time at the Black River Park, and I elicited a few officers to try and help me in it. That didn't work out, so I've called the DNR. They don't deal with peacocks. In fact, animal control today, because there are still some sightings, and they're kind of in a 4-block area, so they're not going far. So I did reach out to animal control again and said, look, if we can just borrow some live traps, right, for dogs, I would assume they'd be big enough. Well, the Van Buren County Animal Control said that I guess the lever on those wouldn't be sensitive enough for a bird to actually engage the trap. So Van Buren County Animal Control does not have a live trap that would be big enough or with something sensitive enough to capture a bird, to safely capture a large bird. Sergeant Griffith helped me, another officer did. We reached out to different bird or wildlife rescue places, and we really haven't come up with any that could assist us. There's a lot of places that will just get rid of bird nests or birds. There's a couple places we're waiting for a call back on, but the city or we would have to hire those companies, and it would require a lot of work. You can't just throw a trap out with some bird seed or corn or whatever, because you'd create probably a problem with other animals, raccoons, mice, other birds, cats, who knows? So it, to set out the live traps, you'd have to actively monitor them. But some good news is that one person I did speak with, because we've had a lot of concern that these birds may freeze, or when the weather gets colder, maybe they won't survive, but this person said that they are able to acclimate to colder weather pretty well. And someone from Van Buren County Animal Control said, and I didn't know this, but there are some reports in the township of them being out in the winter, and apparently they do okay. So we're not ignoring the issue. It's an unusual animal-type issue. So, I mean, we're keeping an open mind. I think Sergeant Hathaway put on our Facebook page, we're willing to help. There's a couple rescue groups that are volunteer that said they're trying, so we'll absolutely help if we can. But it's just very logistically difficult because they're big and they can fly. So, and I don't, I wish I was more versed on this. But again, we do care about animals and wildlife, and if we could, I would. You can ask anyone in my department, I would, but it's very challenging.
I think Surratt Nature Center could use a few peacocks.
Well, I did reach out to them, and they weren't available to help us. I think the rescue capturing portion, because we have a lot of people who are willing to, hey, we'll take the peacocks, or it's just capturing them is the very, I think, difficult part. But, we may still have some options if someone can help with those.
Very good.
Are you advising people, if they happen to run into them, to steer clear? Like, do they have any aggressive tendencies or anything like that?
No, they are not, from what I have understood, easily approachable. I mean, they're female. They don't look very big to me. In fact, we had a Facebook post today that was an hour fresh. So I went in my car and I drove around for quite a while before this meeting. I could not find them, but from reports that we've had is they fly up into a tree or they fly away. So obviously they were owned by somebody, but I think they're more timid of people. So, we haven't had any reports that they're like chasing people or anything, so. But now if you're gonna try and capture them, like with a net or get them into a cage, obviously, if they're not happy, they could probably pose a danger, but as far as we know, they're pretty skittish of people, so I think would be the challenging part of trying to capture them.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the update.
Sure.
And the unique circumstance, but we appreciate it. So
Very unique.
Thank you for keeping us safe.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, citizens in the audience, we've heard on items not on the agenda, so there's something we haven't already talked about tonight, and you would like to come on up, state your name and address. You'll have up to 5 minutes. Good evening.
I'm going to talk fast because there's a lot to get through. So my name is Heather Welsh Johnson. I'm 931 South Haven Place, president of South Haven Ambassadors Program in Education. I wanted to come in and give council an update on the organization's accomplishments this season. There's a lot to cover in 5 minutes, so bear with me. In 10 months, we have onboarded 15 ambassadors. We handed out close to 4,000 brochures, Water Watcher cards, and Water Watcher bracelets through beach patrols going towel to towel, sharing information about the risks, flag systems, code ordinances, and answering beachgoers' questions. We went door to door, putting brochures and QR codes in local businesses, hotels, restaurants, ice cream shops, real estate companies, and STRs. We brought water safety education in partnership with Great Lakes Surf Rescue Project to our local schools in an assembly-style presentation. It will return this year. We have started and launched a chapter of SHAPE in Hollins Park Township. That will be implemented next season. We have also chapters starting in St. Joseph Benton Harbor and Indiana Dunes National Park. We met with Rip Rider creators with Kate to learn about the Rip Current mapping that they are doing with AI technology. We both wrote letters of recommendation to the National Science Foundation in order to get them their grant funding. Once we have that, then they'll be able to come into the city of South Haven and Hollins Park Township, State Park Beach, in order to do that RIP current mapping study. I am working with lawmakers and a group of water safety experts to write a water safety education bill for the state of Michigan to get that into every school in the state of Michigan. I have been invited to present SHAPE's program as the guest of honor to the United States Coast Guard at the Coast Guard Change of Watch in December. We are partnering with water safety experts, Jennifer Sistrunk, and the marketing team at Pure Michigan to get water safety information into their e-newsletter, travel blog, and travel podcast. We attended 16 booth-style events in South Haven, St. Joseph, and Holland. Most businesses in the downtown area have the QR code poster that is linked to our Things to Do on Red Flag Days page. We were able to reach 4 countries with our Things to Do on Red Flag Days page being the most visited, and the second being the educational page. Our peak months for website visits were June through August, and 99% were via the QR code through their mobile devices. The organization through private donations, grant awards, gifts in kind, and fundraiser events was able to raise a little over $5,000. We would like to thank the 8 local businesses that held fundraisers and the local private citizens who donated to the organization. That includes 269 Baggers, Props, Cal Haven Outpost, Northside Memories, Outpost Sports, Higher Lifeguards Save Lives, Renaissance and Papyrus, Ryan Servatus, Mary Hosley, Vanessa Overheiser, Nancy Nat, and all other private citizens who donated. We would also like to thank those who awarded us 3 grants. That would be Meyer, Walmart, and the Rotary Club. We could not have done any of this without our team of ambassadors. Our 15 ambassadors are phenomenal, and all who have fundraised and donated to the organization. When I started this, I said I wanted to stick with kindness, community, and compassion. And thanks to our community, who has so much kindness and compassion for the topic of water safety, we were able to educate so many people in a few short months. For that, I am eternally grateful. So our winter goals include obtaining 2 track chairs, 1 for each beach. They're accessibility track chairs, 30 life rings, rope throw rags, with weather-resistant boxes, mounting posts, and have them installed on the public beaches before spring, which I spoke with Kate about today. We would like to raise funds to host a Red Flag Day park party to include a citywide Capture the Flag tournament for next season. We have obtained funding for 3 LED signs to be displayed at each public beach access point. So 2 on South Beach, 1 on North Beach. I had a meeting today with Kate and a few other people in order to get those implemented. We're working on the project now. We have a few things that were observed this summer that I wanted to bring to council's attention and can be improved. That include flag accuracy and consistency, proper training on how to spot the different types of currents and conditions for BEOs. Pictures should not be the only way when we have on-beach training that can be implemented. Timeliness and updating the flag conditions via the website and text alerts. We know that they're out there changing those flags and it takes forever, but changing the website and the text alert at the same time needs to get faster. The posts to mark the no swim zone should be 100 yards per the MDNR handbook. They were placed at 50 feet from the pier structure. I did have a conversation with Matt Day about all of these things so that they can get worked on for next year. The dredge offload area should have been enforced. The caution tape and cones were a mess just a few days after they were implemented. I walked in the offload sand quite a bit, and my feet were itchy for roughly 2 weeks. I personally witnessed a BEO watching kids play on and around the dredge pipes, and they did not do anything. They did not step in to get them off of that dredge pipe while it was offloading. And I did speak with Matt about that as well. I've had a couple citizens ask me about life rings along the walk paths along the rivers. We do not, I think we only have 2. So I'd be happy to raise funds for that too.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate all that. Was there anybody else? What's that? That was a lot. I don't know, it's like, next time you can, like, give you a couple minutes to talk. We won't make you do it in 5 minutes or less.
This went faster than I thought. Okay. Last thing, I won't be at any more meetings this year, so you're probably happy to hear that. The election. I'm here tonight to talk about the election. One of the things that I've noticed just from afar since I've been gone are a lot of false accusations being thrown about. And I feel like that's a desperate attempt to disrupt our election here in South Haven. Many in this room and watching know and have been a part of this strategy. What is a legacy? True legacy points to those who are willing to put themselves out there to uncover environmental issues, improve our neighborhoods and schools, and bring safety to our beaches and the city in general. I want to thank those candidates running who have decided not to use backstabbing as their strategy. Strength of leadership is shown when you can rise above the fray and continue to focus on the things that are important. Thank you.
Thanks for comments. Good evening, Annie.
Good evening. I'm Annie Brown. I'm running for mayor of our great town. I live at 114 Michigan Avenue, which is Peahen territory. Proud to live there.
Have you seen them?
I've knocked on 1,517 doors, but more importantly, I've listened. When I listen to voters at their front doors and back doors, I hear a whole lot of different sound that we hear in City Hall, in this room. People love South Haven. When I ask them if they have any concerns about where they live, the vast majority of people say they are so happy here. Their love of South Haven, their gratitude for our gem of a town is contagious, and it reminds me that we get to live here. I've met people who have explored every town from New Buffalo up to Northport, and then they decided to live in South Haven. They picked us. There's a woman who vacationed here. She stayed in a short-term rental in South Haven after exploring the rest of Michigan. And at the end of her vacation, the woman turned to her husband and said, "I'm not leaving. This is it, South Haven." For 2 years of our lives, Jeff and I lived in Lansing, and I still remember calling my mom and asking her if she thought it would be stupid if we left great jobs and moved back to South Haven because we missed the people and the lake. And she said, "No, of course, it's not stupid." And this is why I want to be our next mayor, because I'm devoted and dedicated to our town, not just the view, but the hardworking people who come up with great ideas to make South Haven an even better place to live. After I'm elected and people ask me what I do, I will be proud to tell them that I work for the people of South Haven. I also want to make a brief commercial for Mental Health Month. This is Mental Health Month, and there are people everywhere in our town who are suffering from depression and from anxiety off the charts and bipolarism. And the best way to break the stigma is to talk about it. If you look at the statistics, there's a good chance that there were people in our crowded audience tonight who have been suffering from some kind of mental health challenges. People who are depressed are in our churches. They sit with us in the pew. They preach in the pulpits. And so we need to make sure that our police have the tools and resources to help these citizens who need help. And we need to make sure that we have health care options to help families who are dealing with their children or relatives who are suffering from bipolarism and thoughts of suicide. They should not have to go to a different state. So I want to get that out there and make sure we all talk about it and are aware of it. Thanks for everything you do.
Good message. Thank you. Anybody else?
811 Indiana Street. Joe Wilkins, excuse me, 811 Indiana Street.
Evening, Bishop.
Couple of comments. First, I want to say that we're praying for the Getman family and the loss of Dana Getman on yesterday, I believe, last night sometime, so we're praying for the Getman family. Also, I've tried hard over the last year or so, especially not to push who I would like to be the mayor or Ward 1 council person in this chamber. I've done what I needed to do outside. I do believe that it's important that we select the right person because we have so much in front of us. But I want to say this, our election is drawing near, and kudos, kudos to all of you. You had a tough decision you made tonight, and I think you did the right thing. Our election is drawing near, and like most election, things can be said and done that does not represent us as a community of whole. I want to repeat that. It does not represent us as a community of whole. With that being said, I want to remind our candidates and residents that whatever we allow to be sown into the fabric of our community during this election will impact our community after the election is over. I think that's important that each candidate remember that. I've seen it in other cities where cities just stayed in election mode after the election, and hate breeded violence, and violence corrupted the cities. South Haven is blessed. And so when you look around, so much hate, so much fighting, so much discontent is in our world. You can just look over the Middle East. It's praying time. It's important that we, as residents of this city, will agree to disagree in love and respect for one another. In my opinion, South Haven has been blessed because of being a community of love one for another. That is what makes South Haven so unique. In closing, I'm reminded of a well-known verse, and I don't do this often, but I just feel a need because I don't like what's going on. I don't like what's going on in our city. I don't like all the backbiting. I don't like all the false accusations that's being spewed out in our community. It's not fair. It's not fair to these two candidates or any other candidate. So I don't like it. In closing, I want to I'm reminded of a well-known verse when Jesus said to his followers, "By this you shall know that ye are my disciples, if you have love and unselfish concern for one another." Love doesn't hurt. Love is kind. Love never fails. As a community of one, let us err on the side of love and respect for one another. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Sick of me coming up here. Lisa Beck, 879 Monroe Boulevard. I can't do it as eloquently as Joe just did, but I would like to say that I attended the forum, the candidate forum, and some of the stuff I heard, I was appalled. I thought it was absolutely wrong and awful, and the backstabbing was just beneath us. As humans, it's beneath us. And I'd just like to say that, reiterate what others have said, is that, we should hold ourselves to a better standard. We're not all going to agree, but that kind of behavior is just out of line, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Bob Pratt. I live at 6133 Oak Park Trail in Hazlet, Michigan. On September 5th, before your last city council meeting, I sent you all a letter. I copied Ms. Hosier, I copied Matt Day, and I sent this picture. This is the webcam picture of North and South Beach on August 29th at approximately 7:30 at night. At that time, there was a red flag flying at South Beach, meaning that the water's closed because it's too dangerous. There's a yellow flag flying at North Beach, meaning that the water is open, but it's dangerous. The single red flag was flying at flagpole 10. All of the other flags were yellow. As you can see from this picture, the waves at South Beach are about 8 inches. The waves at North Beach are almost 4 feet. According to the buoy, the South Haven buoy, 3.9 feet at 4 seconds from the north-northwest, which means that South Beach is protected by the pier. The waves can't go through the solid structure. They bounce off the solid structure at North Beach and create an untenable situation. The flag status page and the text said that the safest place to be in the water was anywhere but the actual safest place to be in the water. It was illegal to go into the water at the safest place on this day. This is just one example of dozens of the flag system being used inappropriately. There were days when the flags on the app, on the web page, were not changed all day long. They stayed gray all day long. On several occasions, I called City Hall, I talked to the police desk, reminding people that when they changed the flags on the beach, they needed to change them on the text and they need to change them on the website. It was often hours, 4, 6, 8 hours before the flags were changed appropriately. If you're going to have a system that warns people about the dangers, then you need to actually warn people about where the dangerous areas are. Anybody can look at this picture and see that the 4-foot waves battering the North Pier is not a safe area to be in, and that the South Beach is a much safer area to be in. This happens all the time. It happens all the time. I want to talk for just a second about your comment about the AI cameras. Yes, AI is coming. It's going to be fabulous. It's going to increase safety at all of our beaches. We are at least several years, probably several decades. There are currently programs on pools. I'm a swimmer. I go to a lot of different pools. I'm a lifeguard. I'm a lifeguard instructor. I was on the board of the National Drowning Prevention Alliance. I visit a lot of pools every year, probably 50 to 60 pools, different pools every year. The longest standing AI program in pools is called Poseidon. It's a French company. For a single pool, like South Haven's high school pool, 25 yards, 6 lanes, 8 lanes, I'm not sure exactly how big it is. They have 6 to 8 cameras above the surface of the water, and they have 5 cameras below the surface of the water. There currently is no technology that can determine dangerous currents from a camera. Dr. Chin Wu at University of Madison in Wisconsin is working on a computer program that will do that, but he even reports that it is a long, long way away. And if you look at this picture, how is the camera going to determine what the currents are in this area where the glare is? They're simply not going to be able to. So the SwimSmart program, developed by Jacob Soder in the UP, is a fine program, but it has lots and lots of flaws. I applaud you talking about creating a new committee. I hope that you bring in some experts, because the last committee did not have any experts. You have an expert on staff, Adam DeBoer.
Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Was there anybody else? Going once, going twice. All right. City manager comments.
Well, thank you, Mayor. You may have noticed that there's been some work over there at Dyckman Park. Michigan Gas was in the park last week getting set up for the fireplace project. This week, Lawn Boys have moved in there, and they will be beginning removals and starting the construction project. Very exciting. They hope to be done prior to Thanksgiving. Also, that is around the time that the bathroom should be open here shortly, if they're not already. and I know that we're looking forward to those. But that it's also the time that we're starting to look at erecting our ice rink and getting set up with the new ice rink operations center. So since we've made those bathrooms and the changing room now into bathrooms, we'll have a new setup out there. So you'll be seeing some transformation over in that area while the work is continuing. I did want to thank Matt Day and his beach safety attendants, as well as allow the city staff for the update for the beach safety program and the fact that it was so successful this year. I know that there's a lot of work that goes into that, and it's ever evolving as we learn more. So I'm very appreciative to Matt's work on this program. The final thought about the peahens, I know that's caused some consternation. I did want to reassure City Council, but we have not received an application for peahens. So someone had asked me, don't we know who that is, who owns these? And quite frankly, no one has come to us and said that those are their peahens. I've checked with Megan, who would receive the application for those animals, and we have not received any. So we'll continue the search for the peahens and see what we can do with that. With that, those are my comments. I guess I should say one last thing. My congratulations to Kelly and Griffin Graham for all their hard work on the locker project. This has been years in the making, and there's been a lot of work done with that. We've worked with the MEDC and the Michigan Municipal League to bring them here to work on the site-specific program. There's a lot of work that went into that. We had public hearings, an open house rather, and that was a lot of work. So I really want to highlight my staff's work on that project and getting it here for you all tonight. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Questions for Kate?
Follow up from the last meeting, wondering what the procedure would be if Mr. Reeser is elected mayor on how to fill the remainder of his term.
Yes, I apologize. I did not check with Nick about that, but I believe that you are correct. So I have to get that to you in writing. So I apologize. I will have that for you.
So what do we think the procedure is?
It is not the mayor's, I believe it is with the application process. It is not the mayor's selection. So once there are applications received, then this board.
Then the new council would vote
Yes,
on
that's
someone
correct.
to fill the remainder. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
I want to say that's when Mayor Smith was elected, his seat was vacated, and
That's correct.
Yep.
and that's how she got on the first time.
Application.
That's right.
Yep. So, very good. All right. Council comments? I'll start on my right tonight.
My only comment is kudos to Wendy and the Mitten Children's Museum. I went over Friday night, and they were celebrating Trick or Treat. And it was nice to see, I hadn't been in that museum before, and how well they take care of the children, and the kids are all excited. And Wendy is just an absolute great director of that museum, and you could see her heart's in it. So thank you, Wendy, and thanks for the museum. It was a good experience to walk through it.
I just wanted to say, and a lot of people have left already, but we had a lot of people here to watch us do our work. And I saw a lot of people that I usually don't see in the community, but I appreciate everyone being here to find out and to provide input for us on the stuff that we do. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone being here as well. It was nice to see a full house. And I just wanted to say regarding my vote in favor of the Hale development, I came into it tonight really feeling complicated feelings because I think it's such a, like, I can understand where some residents are coming from and that change is hard and that it could definitely have a big impact on our downtown and the way it looks. But for me, the benefits of it definitely outweighed any negatives, and I think it will be an asset once it's built. So that's why I voted yes. I'm just excited to see it happen. And that's it for me.
Very good. Thank you.
My comments are similar. Thanks to Griffin and Kelly for all the hard work on the locker plan. Ms. Gadsden was here and asked, do we listen to our neighbors? Do we talk to our neighbors? Absolutely. And when they're not talking, we ask. Wendy and I have a little Facebook page where we'll ask, well, please give us feedback. And this was one, the Locker and Locker project was one where I asked everyone they probably got tired of me asking what they thought about it. And Laura Jagger spoke in opposition of it, and I could tell she was very emotional about it, and she was very emotional when she spoke to me in the hallway during the break. And as a friend, I certainly felt bad about it. But when things are like that, I learned it from Steve. When people are talking, like little tick marks, how many in favor, how many opposed. And when I was out asking people how many in favor and how many opposed, and people were overwhelmingly in favor, the ones that I spoke to. And then when you add all the economic implications and stuff, that was why I voted yes. And then the other thing I want to mention, Ms. Nat, Mr. Wilkins, Ms. Vec spoke about keeping the elections positive. Great message. And I should have spoke last time. We had a problem with the candidate's sign was defaced. I fully expected that my students would go after my signs. Had I put my face on it, I would expect all the teeth to be blacked out and those kinds of things. That would be harmless fun, but in this case, no. Leave signs alone. Try and keep it positive. Yeah, I should have spoke about that sooner. And thank you to Ms. Nat, Ms. Vec, and Mr. Wilkins for reminding us that, yeah, we do want to. We got to live together after all this, and the passion that Laura Jagger was, it's all that passion, and Annie spoke about the passion. It's because we live in such a great place that people are so passionate all the time about this place. So those are my comments.
How students?
Students are good, yeah. Football team 5-3. They got to win this Friday to make the playoffs. They'll have a winning season, but make the playoffs so they can beat the Kalamazoo United next Friday.
That was a bad weather last Friday.
Yeah, that was tough.
Okay, very good.
Yep. Steve.
Just thank you to staff for all their work with everything they do all the time with these developments and proposals. Some of them make it through, some of them don't. Appreciate the police reports, and it looks like they've been pretty busy and getting a lot busier, and I sometimes am concerned regarding their budget and their staffing, because I know it's hard to find good people in all positions, but so I think future council may have to look at that a little bit harder and make sure that budget, we keep adding events and adding this and parades and everything else and still have the same amount. So we may have to or future council may have to look at that a little bit harder. Other than that, thank you. Happy Halloween and happy voting.
Miss Letitia, how's your students?
First, how are the teachers?
Yeah, how are they? You too. Yeah.
The students are wonderful there, and the teachers are great. But I just want to say thanks to everyone who came out tonight. Thank you for all your comments, and a special shout out to Griffin and Kelly on the great job of getting that done. And congratulations to Mr. Locker and his family. And we are excited to see this come to our city. And I was just sitting here thinking, I know this is a little different, but I'm going to miss this guy. He's leaving.
Yeah.
So.
Not yet. Couple more.
4 more meetings. Pretty soon.
And he's counting down.
Yeah.
So I'll have to hit him a couple of times and be all right.
Thank you.
Those are my comments. Thank you.
So as we talk about the fireplace project, we met with the city of Charlevoix, and I'll just for a little side laugh, that was their come to blows project. They didn't get one, but had some recalls, and the town got up in an uproar about the fireplace project. So I was glad that wasn't, made it through that one without too big of a problem. So there's your, and good call on the live traps, because I tried that once in my yard, and I captured a skunk.
Ooh.
And I'm telling you, no one wants to let a skunk out.
Oh.
But I did. Oh, yeah. Well, I learned the hard way. I let it out. I did the good. Anyway, yeah, hail the Locker family. Congratulations. And again, thanks for all the comments. I think in the end, we did the right thing. I think it's going to be a great project. Purple Pride Spectacular was tonight. So the band had their show tonight at 7 o'clock after they got rained out for their last show on Friday, and I was sad to see that. So good job to the band, and congratulations to them for a good year. So, and yes, elections coming up. Be positive. We live in a great town. Be positive. We're good people. We're neighbors, right? Come on, we can do this, people. All right. Seek a motion to adjourn.
Wait, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you.